Hi, so we're going to do the codependency, and we'll start with the love card that we finished on the last time about the perfume bottle. Love is the strongest perfume, but what is this elusive thing called love? Sometimes we confuse love with need. The person we supposedly love may not feel loved, but trapped by our insecurity. Needy love is jealous and possessive. It uses the other to fill our emptiness and avoid the pain of loneliness. Mature love is synonymous with freedom. How free am I to be myself is the measure of how much I am truly loved. Real love is patient and kind, and it also rejoices in the truth. It wants the best for the other and doesn't turn a blind eye to faults. How can we speak the truth in love rather than love to speak the truth? What we most need is critical love, but what we least need is unloving criticism. Which do I give most of? If you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. Richard Bach. Richard Bach, B-A-C-H, wrote a book called One. If you're into parallel lives, I kind of didn't fully understand it when I was reading it, but I got it somewhere. But now I really understand what he was getting at. Nice book. He wrote other books as well, of course. So ties that bind. Okay. The inspiration for this symbol came from a piece of African stone sculpture called The Wrestlers. Two figures are locked together, with each trying to gain the upper hand of the other. Reflected in the symbol is a psychic reality that so many live a life that lacks freedom because of being unconsciously tied to somebody else, be they alive or departed. Where the bondage is ancestral, it often causes the victim to replicate aspects of the life that they are identified with. The ties that might enslave our spirits are many and varied. Could I be tied to a loved one that I have never even met? Could I be tied to a loved one that I have never let go of? Could I be tied to a past relationship that I still cling to? Could I be tied to an abuser who targeted me as their victim? Could I be tied to an ancestor or sibling I was expected to replace? Could I be tied to someone who has too much control over my life? Could I be tied to a parent who expected me to fill their needs? Could I be tied to a parent who burdened me with their unlived life? Two birds tied together may have four wings, but they still can't fly. So they are very deep questions. Could I be tied to a parent who burdened me with their unlived life? Like they pushed stuff on you that they wanted to do for themselves but never got the chance, and they think it's love. But it's really not, it's control really, but it's also codependency. Could I be tied to a parent who expected me to fill their needs? And yeah, like this is all codependency. So we'll go on to the codependency card, but do a bit of writing about this. If any of them resonate with you, do some writing about it. And if you do need help, find a good counsellor. I had an absolutely fantastic counsellor here in Ireland in Claremorris in County Mayo. If anybody watching this would like to be referred to her, she was brilliant. She understood the ancestral healing. It was her that I found out about ancestral healing from. Now there are groups in Ireland. I can't talk about anywhere else. There are ancestral healing groups and healing sessions in Ireland as well. Mary O'Halloran would be one woman. I suppose Sharon Fitzmaurice would be another. Ida O'Donnell, I think. I've never experienced her, but I do see her posting about it. There's my kinesiologist in Tuam in County Galway. She makes up flower remedies. And maybe a year ago I went for another flower remedy. Oh, Mary, you're still doing the ancestral stuff. And she made it up. I wasn't in her room or anything. She tuned in, and I went a day or two afterwards to collect my remedy, and she was able to tell by whatever she got with the energy, her pendulum, her healing, her kinesiology, whatever she used, what remedy I needed, and that it was still ancestral stuff. So she's in Ireland as well. I'm not sure now whether she would send those internationally or not. But over here in Ireland, we've so many healers. I'm sure you have them in your country too. I hope you have, because without them, I would not be where I am today, put it that way. But you'll find your way, you will find whoever you need to find. And if you want to work more fully with me, you can. Like, I have my mentorship course, but I can do readings and work over and back with you, or whatever way you'd like, just as a support, So that's the ties that bind. Now, our codependency. So this is our card. And I read the front, and I have the rest of it in my book, and I'll read what I wrote in my book as the teaching, because every time I try to teach about codependency, it comes out differently. There are so many aspects to it. A spiritual sycamore platter with carved ivy leaves provides a fitting symbol for codependency. The ivy is by nature a parasite that, if left unchecked, has the power to destroy both the tree and itself. Now, ivy does have a lot of positive aspects to it as well. Ivy thyme is a herb for chest and coughs and colds, but a friend of mine said, I keep seeing ivy, I keep seeing the name ivy, I keep seeing references to ivy, and this is when I was going through my codependency stuff with my left side and my inner child. Maybe it was mostly codependency, but she said maybe ivy is appropriate for you, and sure, ivy is connected with codependency. And I was sitting on the wall outside my parents one day and noticed, I knew it was there, but it clicked with me that, oh my goodness, there's ivy. And I put it on my body. I just brought a leaf in and put it inside my clothes. And I don't know, I trusted it would do what it had to do. A fern was another thing. I had a healing session for it, and a fern came through there, and I had to pick a fern and put it inside my clothes as well. So I do have a Druid Oracle deck. The Druid Oracle deck, beautiful deck, very deep, with all those herbs and flowers in it, messages from them, the history of them, where they can be found and what they help with. Beautiful deck. Oh, I have it here. The Druid Plant Oracle. Fabulous. See, this is how I read. I go from, whatever comes through. There's the book. And 3 or 4 pages for each thing, each flower, herb, and there are the cards. They're big, and this is woad. Some of them I don't know. Woad, madder, mistletoe, poppy, the guardians, primrose, clover, fern, juniper, garlic, betony, wheat, mint, heather is there too. So it may be for some of you. It's by illustrated by Will Worthington, and the writing is done by Philip and Stephanie Carr-Gom, GOMM. So that's those. Right, our codependency. Now I've lost my, well, I know the page number, I think. 182, if the number means anything to you. The 18th of February. 1 and 8 are 9, and 2 are 11, and 1 and 1 is 2. So the 11. So codependency, this is in my book. I find it difficult to explain this word and its effects on people, but here goes. The card that I chose is from the Ancestral Healing Deck by Father Jim Cogley, Would You Believe, which I have used earlier in this book too. His message is that codependency is where one person becomes addicted to the other and lives their life through them. When this is allowed, the essential self of the other becomes eroded. A sense of freedom is seriously lacking where there is codependency, and it gives rise to deep levels of insecurity and jealousy. He asks, could the codependent be someone without a centre, and so they make someone else their centre and believe they can't exist without them? Yes, me too, on the twin flame path. Could a couple who can neither live together nor apart be trapped in mutual codependency? Could the best way to deal with a clinging vine be to withdraw support in order for the other to begin drawing on their own resources? And this is what the twin flames do. You know, if you're on the twin flame journey, this is why they withdraw. We've got to find our own inner resources. When someone else is the light of my life, then I am in darkness. There are different ways of looking at this card. The first one is the eroding of the other's freedom. Codependents are rescuers of other people. I was a typical example of this level of codependency. I mentioned earlier in this book that I used to nearly push people to do as I was doing. I knew what was best for everyone around me because it was best for me and it had worked for me. The underlying feeling beneath this action was fear, first of all. Fear that others whom I loved would become more ill than they were already or make the wrong decisions. Fear that others would get into trouble, and I wanted to save them from that fate. I had a deep need to help others, but was going about it in the wrong way, thus annoying and frustrating myself because others wouldn't and weren't listening to me or doing what I advised. This can leave others feeling smothered, criticised, resentful, angry, frustrated, and not wanting to be around the constant helpful person. Life is so much easier now because I understand that it is not my business what others do with the information that I pass on to them in conversations or even after they have asked for my advice. They are in charge of their own lives. They have their own path to walk and their own decisions to make, and it is not my job to do any of it for them. Oh my God, it took me 11 years. As well as the underlying feeling of fear, there was also a feeling of wanting to control the outcome, bringing it to a satisfactory conclusion, the way I thought it should end. There was also, of course, a need to be seen as the person who gave the advice and saved the day, which I guess was seeking attention and recognition, which would help me to feel good about myself. Codependents also do too much for other people, thus taking others' responsibilities away from them. Many parents take their children's responsibilities away from them by doing for them what they are well able to do for themselves. Many carry this into adulthood by reminding their adult children of their responsibilities, trying to see ahead and prevent what can go wrong before it goes wrong at all. I was one of them with my teenage children. We as parents can advise when asked, but our adult children must make their own decisions and walk their own paths. That is very difficult for most parents, I know. It is a difficult habit to break, but for everyone's sake, it is worth looking at and taking on board some method of breaking the pattern. This can run on into a marriage too, where one partner is constantly on edge, trying to make sure that the other is safe, well, healthy, well-dressed, happy, etc. I read a book by Melody Beattie called Codependent No More. Every page reminded me of myself. As I said over and over, I ticked every box. It mainly focused on addictions in families and codependence in relation to this. I didn't have anyone with addictions around me, but there was still something on every page that resonated with me. I would like to quote a piece from it here now. We not only meet people's needs, we anticipate them. We fix, nurture and fuss over others. We make better, solve and attend to. And we do it so well. Your wish is my command is our theme. Your problem is my problem is our motto. We are the caretakers. We rescue people from their responsibilities. We take care of people's responsibilities for them. Later we get mad at them for what we've done. Then we feel used and sorry for ourselves. That is the pattern, the triangle. Other things that codependents do are, and a quote from her book, we do things that we are asked to do, even if we don't want to do them. We say yes when we mean no. We meet people's needs without being asked, and before we've even agreed to do so. We do more than our fair share of work after our help is requested. We consistently give more than we receive in a particular situation, and we fix people's feelings. We do people's thinking for them. Some codependents speak for other people. Others are well capable of speaking for themselves. We put more interest and activity into minding other people than we do into looking after ourselves. I mentioned that earlier. We don't ask for what we want, need or desire. That was in her book. Then I go on to say, they are certainly difficult patterns to break, but being aware of what is going on and why we are doing what we do helps immensely. The next step is giving ourselves permission to let go of those patterns without guilt or judgment of ourselves. It may involve tying yourself to the chair and putting a zip on your mouth at times, but it is doable. I know that I found it so difficult at times that I have felt the need to glue myself down at times, so don't be too hard on yourself. As I referred to earlier, that book focuses mainly on addictions in families, and even a codependent partner with the best will in the world is taking away the responsibility of the person with the addiction by rescuing them all the time. This is a very difficult situation to be in and difficult to change the patterns. There are, of course, some fantastic groups in our communities who help those with addictions and those living with them. This is not something that I have experienced myself, so I cannot speak with any authority on it. Another message of the card is about personal relationships, couples who depend on each other to survive, each needing the other to feel secure, needing to be in a relationship to feel whole. Both of them can be codependents in many cases. It isn't healthy. There isn't a feeling of freedom within the relationship, and this can lead to jealousy, neediness, feeling smothered, feeling controlled, and having fun squeezed out of the relationship. If both are codependents, the other partner will more than likely feel a sense of loyalty, a sense of having to be there in case the other won't survive on his or her own, trying to cover what the other cannot, while feeling all of the above too. To come to a place where both are free, they've got to come to a place of knowing where you end and I begin. It is not easy, but as I said before, being aware of what is happening is the starting point, and then help can be sought or conversations had. And then I go on to quote from the Ties That Bind card. I did. I read it to you already. The ties that bind the two wrestlers. So I quote that. And I say we can be tied to a person who has passed on from this life through our own guilt, our unforgiveness of them, our grief or anger at their leaving. If this is so, please try to find a way of letting go so that both of you can be free. This is not telling you to rush through the process of grief. This is about hanging on too long for many, many years after the passing, which is stopping you from living life. Writing a letter to them and burning it is very effective exercise. Joining a meditation or a healing group is very healing too. Ask your angels and guides to send you some information as to who or what would be the most beneficial for you, and then keep your eyes and ears open for information which will come to you. Another facet of this message is a codependent who falls in love with someone. The codependent sees a relationship as partners being in each other's company every spare minute that they each have, being on call for each other. One partner is usually more obsessive about this than the other, and it leaves the other feeling smothered and exasperated, and they usually run as fast as they can in the other direction. In my work, I see many of these relationships have an underlying deep soul love, and their coming together is about helping each other to be the best soul and living being that they can be, showing each other parts of themselves that have never come into the light before. Because the love is so deep, each is committed to learning how to shed any behaviours or patterns that will stand in the way of their soulful divine partnership. Both souls will know when it is time to be in each other's lives again for a brief or extended period of time. The universe orchestrates these meetings as and when they are needed. The codependent definitely has no control of the outcome or of the how and when things will unfold when the soul is leading. We can either go on reacting and trying to control it, causing ourselves much more pain, or we can let it unfold as it is meant to be, while all of the time working on ourselves on every level: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. In my opinion and experience, it is most definitely better to want to be codependent no more. The aim of the messages in this book is to help you to come to a place where you are totally free to be yourself, free to be who you want to be, not to be walking on eggshells around others, free of your past and free to let your true beauty shine. It begins with looking after yourself, minding yourself, taking care of yourself first. It isn't selfish, it is self-preserving. Today can be the first day of the rest of your life. Why not just go for it? As I said, I am not a lover of labels, so when you understand it, throw away the label codependent. I think that's a great chapter in my book, even though I wrote it myself. So I hope that helped. I hope that gave you some insight, something to work on if you need it, and something to understand other people and how they run their lives, and understanding them. And when you're understand and be aware, it's a big help to yourself to be able to detach. So take care. Talk to you in the next video, and I'll probably do these: the anger and the fear and the guilt and shame, and maybe one or two more. So I'll talk to you then.